Here we have a 500 kilo bygone fantastic Morris brand chain block. I've purchased this today from car boot sale. I thought it would make a good video. Whether we can repair it or not is another thing, but I'm going to go through what you're looking for if you're buying it off the car boot, which I wouldn't advise anybody does. I don't think it's a good place to buy lifting equipment from, but like I say, I thought it would make a good video. So what you're looking for on the day, how you can quickly make a judgment as best as possible on what you're buying. So to give you some background on this, this is just a 2 meter full chain, so it is quite short, and the hand chain's been shortened to suit, which is exactly what I want. Saves shortening a longer one. Also the clutch slips on it, it's not holding its weight, and this is all by the guy selling it. I offered him £2 for it and we agreed on £3. So whatever becomes of it, whether it becomes a bicycle lock, it's still worth the money. So if you're looking at it on the stall, this is what you need to do. Condition of the top hook. Where does this safety catch come to here? You can see that the safety catch is where you'd expect it to be, just here. If the safety catch passes through and it's in good condition, then we know this top hook's been strained. So you're looking for general strain on a top hook. Go around that way, go around that way, and you can see there's no damage to there. We have the original Morris bolts, and they have not been tampered with. We can see no heavy flaking or distortion here. So look down the full, we can see that hook's in line, and we can see it's in line there. These bolts are the original Morris bolts, nuts and bolts. And we're looking for general damage to the body, any oil coming out of it, such like. So to move on to the chain. Chain, so all the links are the same height. Across there, that in line with that, in line with that. And then move to the, like I said, this is a shortfall, the lower end, and make sure they're all still the same. Again, with the bottom hook, you're looking for the genuine pin, which I know this to be the genuine pin. There's no damage to that pin, we can see the pin's going straight through. It's not distorted, it's not loose. This pin is like a flatted pin, which means that it can't rotate. It's flatted, designed to go into, it has two flats to go into the chain here. Okay, so if somebody has changed this pin for a standard bolt, even if it's high grade bolt, the actual material going through here will be significantly less. So let's say that's you'd probably get a 6mm bolt through there, but the flange ones are, yes, 6mm in diameter, but they're probably getting on 8mm when you account for the flange this way. Okay, so always try and make sure if it is the design that's been flatted that it is the correct one and that is the correct pin. Again, we're looking for damage to the hook, that the safety catch comes to around about the correct place. If the hook is opened up, the safety catch will come out this way, the safety catch is down here, there. Also that they haven't been picking up on the eye. If this is twisted, just get rid of it. Don't even bother buying the chain lock, because if somebody treats their lifting equipment like that, get into a hole of a plate or something, then what else has happened to it? We've got to make a summary on that point. Okay, so we're looking for there, that's straight down there, and there again, there is no issues with that. Now coming to the chain further, you simply go down the chain and we're looking for wear in here. Bearing in mind at the moment we're on a car boot, okay, so you wouldn't have took all your verniers. So look into here, each and every one of these, that there is no excessive wear. Okay, and no damage to the chain's not bent, or vice marks, or etc, or it's been re-welded in some way, because again it won't be worth it. We then come to the condition of the pocket wheel in here. You need to make sure that the chain fits inside that pocket wheel correctly, and it does. Can't see any unnecessary wear, and we can't see no grease pouring out from the bearings. Doesn't look particularly worn on here. We've got a good condition pocket wheel. So that glimmering inspection there is what thought it'd be worth a go. So now we get it home, and again we'll start with the chain. So to find out if the chain is worn, you want to measure in 2 places. So you'd measure good places, that is. So you'd measure here. Okay, that's a 5mm chain, and then measure on another place here. Again, 5mm chain. Then what you want to do is measure inside the wear area, and that is a 5mm chain. So if you've got some wear on here, so let's say you're measuring the link which sits onto the pocket wheel, so that you might have flats. This is why we measure in 2 places. But this is a very symmetrical chain, so we know it's 5mm, 5mm, so therefore we're looking at no more than 8% wear on 5mm. Okay, and you can see this chain is still at 5mm. Don't just check one of them, because obviously this one here, as it goes over the pocket, will have far more localized wear than this one that uses all of its radius. So don't just measure that one, measure the one next to it as well. Okay, so they're all 5mm, so we can move on from the chain. Okay, so this is the hand chain wheel. Got some little spaces there. And what we're doing, we're taking note of where the clutch is originally set, especially like this one doesn't appear to have been took apart. And what you can see, there is an element where the nut is not locked solid to the hand wheel. We'll go into why this is in a minute. So if we say it's originally adjusted about a thread in, if you can't find the manufacturer's settings with a feeler gauge, okay, try and take note beforehand. So what we need to do now is take this out. Okay, once removed, take the nut off. This is correct for it to be finger tight like that. Okay. And a good sign that your clutch is not worn, if you screw that in, so hold the shaft, screw that in, you should still see that the nut doesn't bottom out on its threads. Do you see that there's still the capability to knock the nut solid? If the clutch plates tend to wear, then the spline that this sits on, the spiral that this sits on, will be proud of the shoulder, which means the nut would lock against the shoulder and not against this. Okay, so that's always a good sign if you haven't got the manufacturer's specification to see if it's worn or not. Take the chain off and take this off. Okay, so what we're looking for here, well, I can see the problem straight away with the clutch, but you see here it's nice and even all the way around. This one is a little bit corroded, so it's been sat there for a bit, so we'll flat this off. You're looking at the condition inside here for wear. Okay, don't be alarmed if you don't see grease. It's more probably ideal that you don't see grease than see grease in there. You do not want, like this one, grease going on there. So we're looking at the condition of this, and there's no damage to the pockets on the hand chain. Okay, there've been no modifications, nobody's filed it, it's got the original turning marks all around here, so that's a good one. Very nicely made as well. So taking this cover off, this is just simply a cover to stop the muck getting in. Okay, now what is nice to find is you've got the twin pull. This one hasn't. So if a pull fails, that's your only one. Most of the modern ones nowadays will come with twin pulls. Admittedly, they won't be the quality, like the beefiness of this one, but you will have 2 lesser ones. Okay, so what we're looking at before we take this apart is that we've got a nice click to that, and we have. What you want to do is turn it to the side and make sure that that pull is in line with the teeth. Okay, that sometimes when the clutches wear, they become misaligned, or they bend these, they overload these, and that shaft there will bend and the pull will be off here. Again, scrap it, don't even bother repairing it, it's not worth it. So this is your first clutch plate here, okay, and this is very contaminated with oil. Okay, I don't know how the oil's got on that, but, and then you take your pull wheel off, okay, checking the condition of this, and it is nice, although it has got oil on it. You're looking at the teeth are nice and sharp, and you see how they chamfer like that. So there's a straight side there to that, and then there's a chamfer side. So the chamfer side is on the front side, not that way around. Okay, make sure you do that because it won't work. Okay, and here is the back clutch again. It's quite contaminated. Unscrew that. Okay. Again, general condition, make sure that the spiral in there is in good condition. Anywhere, anything like that, throw it. Again, the spiral on this, and this is what I don't understand, this is nice and dry. There's no issues with finding it dry, like I said. And we'll just get the shaft, wiggle it up and down, and you can see that the bearings are in exceptional condition on this. There's no, normally, and this is what I'd expected to find, these bearings, the seals go, or people repack them, the grease comes through here, goes into here and goes onto your clutch plate. So I'm not entirely sure where that grease has come from. I did expect it to be this bearing. Okay, what you can do is get that shaft, wiggle it up and down. That will also tell you the condition of the bearings at the back. Some are plain on the heavier quality chain blocks. Some of them are actual bearings rather than bushes, and on the really cheap makes, it's just a piece of steel with a hole in it. But if you're going to buy that, that's up to you. Okay, so we're going to take this rear cover off. Okay, and in the back, this is quite a cracking chain block here. We can see it's extremely clean. So these are just plain bearings here. Okay, but they are good quality, and there is very little wear on them as well. So you can see no ovality in the bores there. The grease looks the original grease, and it is within, it's all inside here, so that's great. I will put a tad more grease in, not a lot though. You do not want too much. You put too much on it, it'll all come out through the clutch. Okay, so this is how this works. There's your input shaft from your hand wheel there, and that turns these here. Okay, so what we are doing, that single, so that shaft is that one there in the middle. We can see that is going from a different speed to that one, so it comes through the center. So this is like a floating on that shaft, so it comes through the center, it drives into both of these at the same time, shares the load, and then these are one piece. We're looking at the condition of the teeth, that they're not sharped. A quick way of doing it really is to look at the section that doesn't get used by the gear, then look at the section that does, and if they look similar, then you're good. If there's any sorts of wear or anything of that type, just throw it away, it's not worth it. Again, the bush in the rear is top, so it drives from there to there, then to here. Okay, so there, 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 there. This is one piece. That shaft is within that shaft there. That is not directly connected to that. This gear here is directly connected to the pocket wheel in there. Okay. So there we go. We can now see that this is directly connected to that. This is not. This is just an independent shaft. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So again, we're looking for general wear and tear. Okay. Wear on the teeth. Where we've still got a lovely step there. There's no reason to think that is worn. The condition is fantastic all the way through. Bang on. Okay, come into this. A little washer there. Again, checking this. I mean that's fantastic made. Just how we used to do good quality things in England, sadly, far in the past. We can see you just wouldn't machine that or broach it however you'd done it. Now it would just be some sort of cheap little key, but we're looking for that on there, and it's a lovely fit. The grease has got a bit old, it's a bit tacky, tacky in an old way, not as in a meant to be tactile grease. Okay, so what we're going to do now is take this cover plate off. This is probably where we lose absolutely everything. Okay, so that has come off there. It's a nice hardened face on there that runs in a beautiful needle roller in there. No bushes there. Generally looking at the condition of the bearing. And while it's off now, we can look at the condition of the pull, and it's mint. I mean, look at that. Top job there. There is no wear on that. Really good. Really good. So that's all about we can do there. Just generally check for it being misaligned or bent. Okay, now to spin this around, take the chain off, and again we can have a much closer inspection. In fact, let's get that out as well. Okay, so there we go. This is your pocket wheel. It is all one assembly except for these, which are pressed on, and I'm not going to start taking those off. You're not going to have good luck. Okay, very little wear in the pockets there. Okay. So I'm very satisfied. This is a good condition chain block, so I'm going to put it together now and show you how all this works. Oh, yeah, I can just check that pin while we're here. So there you go. Check for wear on that pin or any fractures. And the hook. It actually looks like that hook there is actually a bottom hook that is used as a top hook as well. Yeah, they are. So the top hook is exactly the same as the bottom hook. Interesting. Okay. You can see you can quite clearly have a chain in there normally. It's got the cutouts for it. So I'm going to clean this as I go, but for the sake of keeping the video short, I'm just going to show you assembly. Okay. So that's back in there. These are your chain guide wheels. You do still want them in good condition, but don't get too excited if they're a little bit damaged. All they do is keep the chain over the top of the pocket wheel. Okay, again, this is only the dead end, so you can check the pin if you wish, make sure the pin's fine. When you're putting this back on, make sure that you haven't twisted the chain. I have done that quite a few times. Oh, this is quite important. Make sure your guide's in good condition here. Okay, this will stop the chain sometimes, especially this dead end, feeding back round and jamming your chain block. Make sure that's okay. That's in there. Okay, so that's where we are at the moment. Now, to explain to you how this works, okay? So, as I said before, that's your main drive through here, and that drives into your pocket wheel. We've got that, we've done that. But the clutch is quite interesting. So how the clutch works, we put this back on here. Do you see that's a spiral in there, okay? Put this back in here. We're still all loose here, but this is just to show you. So how this works, I haven't washed this yet. We need to wash this still. So this is free to move and not drive any part of this. That is just spinning around on there, okay? We've got a clutch plate, and then this back assembly is spiral fed to there, okay, like a really coarse thread, okay? So that is connected to that via the spiral. This has got no drive on it at all, okay? And the clutch on there. And just for the purposes, I'll leave the cover off. So what happens is, when you pull on the chain, that tightens the clutch assembly together. Okay, so what you now have got is you have friction wise connected this hand chain to that pull wheel, to that back plate, and it's locked itself onto this shaft. Okay, so that back plate will be sitting at the very back, and it screws it all tight together. So you've now got a connection from this to that there. Okay, now the pull wheel is held by the pull, and as it's all locked together, that is stopping this shaft rotating, nothing else. Okay, so that is connected to this, which is jammed via the clutch plates to the centre, the rear boss, and this is jammed on that face to connect all this together. Now, what you actually do to lower, so really, the harder this chain pulls, okay, it tries to drive this, and the more it tries to drive, the tighter that will go on, because that pull is stopping all this from moving. So all it will do, the greater the load, the greater this will screw in. Okay, so this is on here. Imagine you got your load on. It can't come out. Okay, that pull wheel is holding it. Okay, and tightening these. Now, to loosen the load or let it down, you actually pull on the left hand side and you see that unwinds. That unwinds, and you won't actually do it that much. It's very fractional. It unwinds slightly and releases the clutch. Okay, so it will release all these plates and release the clutch. And that is simply how it works. It's absolutely fantastically simple and a brilliant tool to have. So like I say, ideally you want to have the manufacturer's recommendations for hooks to see. I mean, I'm sure with a Morris one you could probably still get that somewhere because they're fantastic. Now this all has got to be cleaned. Okay, I've got to clean all these plates up and everything. But there you go. So any questions, put it down in the comments. I'm now going to clean this. I'll do a quick load test on it. I'm only going to the 500 kilo. It's only just to make sure it does it. There's no point in going over because you're just going to damage it. You can do your 1.25s all you want, but you just don't want to. Go to the 100% of the safe working loads. That's all you shouldn't be going up that high anyway. If it's a 500 chain block, you don't want to go up to 500 kilo. You know, 450, 400. It's quite clear that you need a bigger chain block. But then on the other hand, if you have a really big chain block, like a 3-ton chain block, let's say, or a multiple full chain block, I've got a 6-ton one as well, which is via multiple fulls. If you go and pick up 250 on that, there's a chance that the clutch won't have the weight to bite, and they might actually let themselves down and are not actually defective. So try and use, if you have that luxury, a chain block suitable for the weight you're picking up. Anyway, I'm going to clean this one now, put it back together. When cleaning your clutch plates and the back piece and obviously the hand wheel, use something like brake cleaner, anything grease free. Be careful though, because you can break down some of the pads, and early ones are asbestos based, so don't get sniffing it just in case you're into that kind of thing. I'm looking at the condition of the pads. We can see this chain block has had very little use other than the grease that got on it, because there's the original manufacturing lines on it where it hasn't quite fully bedded in. So you can see that one's been used a little bit more, but the plates are not chipped, they're not glazed, there's no little cracks. Sometimes if they're really abused and they get hot, then you'll get little airline fractures. Some are sintered, some are not sintered. Just, you know, use a bit of common sense. Do they look okay? Are they broken? If they're broken, throw the lot away. It's not worth it. But yeah, give them a clean, but be careful what you clean them in, because it can actually damage them as well. And try and remember which clutch plate come off which way, front or back. Okay, don't start swapping them around, because they're bedded into each other. Make sure all your plates are clear, all the backs are clear, and there's no grease. Don't bother greasing any of that. It doesn't get used to the extent that it needs, like all these shafts greasing, because all that will happen is it will come out on your clutches. So to set the nut, what you need to do, always try and find the manufacturer's documentation, be it on hooks, design, wear, whatever, the clutches, always try and find that. Failing that, to set the nut, hold the load chain tight. Operate the right hand chain, so to raise it. This brings all the clutches in together. Finger tight the nut all the way. What you need to do is then undo it while keeping it all tight and compact. Undo the nut until you find the first hole for the split pin, and then one more of the castellations, and this will give you the play that you need to release the bearings and also to release the clutch and also bring it on. You keep it too tight, and when you go to release the clutch, at worst it won't release and it's jammed. But what can be worse than that is that you use it with the clutch dragging too heavy and you burn your clutch. So like I say, manufacturer's documentation is always better, but I don't think you'll go far wrong with that. Like I say, manufacturer's documentation. New split pin, don't get you using old split pins, okay? So all back together, it was tested between my tractor and my forklift with a load cell, and I got to 500 kilos without any problem at all. Real good purchase for £3. I hope you're as fortunate, but be very, very, very careful what you are buying from car boots, eBay, whatever. And unless you really know what you're doing, buy a new one.